Hey, it's Jim from the Woodworking Corner. Today we're making a corner shelf for our French cleat wall over here. I've made some in the past that were smaller that fit in the corners, but today we're going to make one a little bit bigger. And it was actually inspired by Bittner build. He made one for his shop. Actually, he made a couple for his shop. I'm going to make one kind of similar to that, but I'm going to add power to this. So stay tuned. Another option for these corners is I like to put my longer, skinnier tools in there. It's not that bad for me to get to, and they don't stick out so much so that you can use the corner space effectively. So this one was just a simple long board with a couple of roundovers and a screw on it, hang my pull saw on it, and it fits nicely right in the corner. The main thing I want to add to this shelf is the heater. Like this was the heater's old home was in this one, and it sat flat on the wall, which was nice, but the heat came out this way. I figured if I can catty corner it into that corner, the heat will come out in this direction instead, which will be nice. Plus, these wires are, move this out of the way, these wires are hanging around all over the place. So the other plan is I want to install this outlet so it can power the heater as well as a couple of other electronic type things. So that's the plan. Basically, this the shelf is a couple of parts. It's going to be this board that we're going to cut into we're going to make a 45-degree cut in it, so this way it fits in the corner nicely like that. And then you need a backer board. The backer board just has to be deep enough or tall enough to cover two cleats at the same time. This way there won't be any tipping involved. But so that's basically the parts that we need. The board that I'm using happens to be almost 26 by 17 and a half. So since a triangle is basically a square cut in half, if we make this thing 17 and a half, we can actually get two boards out of it. Okay, I cut my square and I drew a line down the middle. Now I'm using this jig that I use for my circular saw to cut right down the middle of that. I have it clamped on that end. I'm just going to line up the line here. Normally I would line up the line right on the mark, but since we want to make two even halves, I'm going to actually try and split that line in half. So I'm not going to have this all the way over to the side. And with this jig, the circular saw rides right along the edge of this, and you just lower the blade just enough to cut into the sacrificial board underneath it, and it'll give you a nice clean cut. Say not too bad. He had cut off the edges of his triangles as well. His were a little bit deeper than mine. However, I mean his board was also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 20 by 20. So this one was, again, 17 and a half by 17 and a half. So now it's a little bit shorter because I cut off those little corners, but it's still going to work out well for what I wanted to do. So next is the backer board. I only have this one piece of plywood here ready to go, but this is not enough to do the two shelves. And the height was kind of pushing it anyway. So what I'm electing to do is save this for the cleats. When I make cleats for this, I'll use this board. And then I have another piece of 1/2-inch plywood that I'll use for a backer board that's full length right now. So I'll just trim that, or I'll rip that down to maybe 8 inches to give me a little bit extra room between the cleats. So that's the next step. Something else I did differently. This is all for cable management because I am planning on using it, I guess, for the heater and the fan. So this way I cut the back end off so there's a space for the cord to go down so it can get to the outlet. So that was something else I did on the fly. I saw that he had propped his up to get the spacing from the bottom, proper spacing for the bottom to the backer board for the backboard. I think the important part is as long as the backboard covers two cleats, then you're good to go. So as long as it doesn't end up like this and actually hits two cleats, you'll be fine. So the next step is to get a reference for your French cleat, for the cleat and the shelf. So put the cleat where up on the wall, then move your shelf into place. Give yourself like a little overlap. And then making sure you're hitting 2 different cleats. Like this one I don't want, it can't be here, because then it'll be wobbly. So it's got to cover 2 cleats. And I want it high enough so this way I have room for the bottom shelf too. So I think that's probably a good spot. So I'm going to just mark here where the angle of the cleat, or you can actually mark the top too. Mark the top of where the top of the cleat will be. Probably smarter to do it that way. So that line is pretty much right where this other line is. So I can actually use that for a reference, which would make things easier for me, because they already have a nice straight line. And I have that same line on that side too. Don't even have to measure that side. So I'm going to attach this there, making sure I don't hit these screw holes. Okay, first shelf is done. Okay, I got the second shelf done. Heater, fan, all work. Little extra spaces for accessories that get plugged in. But I did promise power, so let's figure out something with this so we can get this all tidied up and not look like this. Okay, here's my first thought. If I can mount this here, technically I don't even need a French cleat for it. We can mount this here. I think that's a good spot for it. And what it'll also do is I'll have enough room to kind of hide this wire so this thing is not hanging out all over the place. So I think that's the best thing to do, is to put it right there. Okay, so we're going to hang this on the wall. I had done a previous video called, it was actually a YouTube short. It was called No Template, No Problem. Where trying to measure out these holes perfectly is hard to do, but if you use a piece of paper, you could do it very easily. Someone had mentioned in one of the comments saying you could actually do blue tape as well. So this time, we're going to use blue tape. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your tape and you're going to cover the holes with the length of the tape. And then you're going to take a pencil and you're going to kind of roughly go over the outline of where the hole is. And it leaves like an indentation into the tape. And since this is like a keyhole type thing, you actually see where the hole is, where you drill, and where the screw can actually lock into. So this is a very useful tip. Works with the paper too, but this is the first time I'm doing it with the tape method. And you attach it to the wall where you want it to where you want to mount it. Okay, everything's done. Got everything wired up. I have my cord for this light is now all taped up and going here and out of the way of my squares. All my accessories that I plug into either USB or into an outlet or whatever, that's all in this area right now. This outlet is actually an Amazon one, and I highly do not recommend it because it's so quirky all the time. But the way it would work is each outlet gets its own name. So if I was to say, Alexa, turn off garage light, it turns off these lights. turn on garage light. I find I have to reset it all the time in order for it to work. So if I said, Alexa, turn on garage fan. Now the fan up here is blowing. Alexa, turn off garage fan. And then finally the middle switch works the heater. Alexa, turn on garage heater. And there goes the heater. The heater came on. So I wish this thing worked better, because if it worked better, it'd be, Alexa, stop. I wish she would work better too. Alexa, turn off garage heater. So there you have it. So this part of the corner of the woodworking corner is now done. Looks a lot more organized. A little feels like there's a little bit more space in here too. So thank you for watching.